I did some rearranging here because there's also an event getting ready to take place. Trey Kelley, candidate for House District 16, if you can come up here.
I'm going to move around a little bit, Michael, so I don't like being behind those. I want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to thank everybody with the Bartow GOP and the executive committee, Fred filling in today for Lewis, and Deborah for helping get everything together. Y'all always do a great job hosting these events, good crowds. So I want to thank everyone for being here today, taking time out of your Saturday away from your family when there's a million other places you could be, to come here and be engaged in the political process, to have your voice heard, and to transform the way our government operates. As Fred said, my name's Trey Kelley, and I'm running as the Republican candidate for State House in District 16. Now, the 16th District's new to Bartow County, and it has all of Taylorsville and a portion of U Harvey, along with all of Polk County and a portion of Haralson County. Now, currently, this seat's being represented by a three-term incumbent Democrat. But I'm confident, with your support uniting behind me, we can bring new, conservative leadership to this State House seat. Now, I was born and raised in Cedartown, Georgia. My parents were both school teachers there, and they raised me and my two brothers there in a Christian home. And I lived my whole life there, except for the 3 years that I attended Shorter College. And after graduating from Shorter with a degree in business administration, I married my wife Amy the next week. We graduated one Saturday and got married the next. And we moved back to Cedartown. When we moved back, we knew we wanted to make a positive impact in our community. We began attending the First Baptist Church in Cedartown. I became active with several community service organizations there. Served on the Governmental Affairs Committee for the Polk Chamber of Commerce. And I had the privilege to serve as the president of the local exchange club there a little over 2 years ago. I also got active with the Republican Party there, because like many of you, I was frustrated with the way our government was heading, and I wanted to have the opportunity to have my voice heard with our legislators. Now, my political philosophy is real simple. I believe in states' rights, gun rights, and the rights of the unborn child. I'm running for this 16th House seat because it's time for the 16th District to have a voice at the state capitol. I've been fortunate over a year to build strong relationships with many at the Capitol, including Governor Dill, as I served as his Polk County chairman for his campaign, and have received support in my campaign by many state representatives. Matt Ramsey, the vice chair of the House Republican Caucus, was one of the first to endorse my campaign, as well as Alan Peake and Howard Maxwell. If you give me your support at the state capitol, we'll hit the ground running on the first day. I've put in the time and built the relationships so that the 16th District will finally have someone who will listen to them and can respond to their needs. I'm an aggressive, hands-on leader, someone who's just not content to sit on the sidelines. I'll tackle tough issues like ethics reform and our state's transportation problems head on. Now, we've talked today about ethics, and we do need to curb the corruption at the state capitol. I, too, have signed the pledge saying that I'll co-sponsor a piece of legislation to cap lobbyist gifts at $100. I think that's a good place to start, and regardless of where that legislation goes, I, too, have made a commitment to this district that I'll abide by the guidelines in it regardless. It doesn't take a piece of legislation for me to be what I consider a moral person. We can also agree that our state legislators, before they tell us how to dole out our tax dollars, that they need to be current on their taxes as well. I think that's a good start we need to look at in terms of ethic, as well as making sure all our state legislators are up to date on their taxes. We've talked about transportation. We have a problem with transportation in our state. We need to address it before it becomes an economic burden. But I don't think right now that we should pass along another tax on the citizens of the hardworking citizens of the 16th District and the state of Georgia to pay for it. Each month, me and my wife, we sit down at our table and we lay out our budget. When a new thing's needed at our house or new maintenance on our car, we have to find the room in our budget. We have to make the tough cuts without necessarily new revenue coming in. We have to do the same thing at the state. We need to take the list that are, the project list that is a priority, and we need to find the room in the budget to do it. By the time when most Georgians are struggling to put gas in their tanks, we don't need to levy another 1 cent sales tax above the 7.5 cents per gallon gasoline tax that we already pay in our state. Since beginning our campaign on January 7th, we've made bringing good jobs to the 16th district our #1 priority. By bringing new industry to our area, we'll broaden Georgia's tax base. We'll help remove the liability that's on us as individuals. We'll work to lower Georgia's 6% income tax. The new industry will help the local officials to take some of the property tax burden off you as citizens here. But I want to be clear, I don't think it's the government which creates jobs. I'm someone who works in small business and understands that jobs are best created in the private sector when the government gets out of the way. That's why the first step of my 3-point jobs plan is to create a more favorable business climate in our state by cutting taxes and getting rid of the regulations which hamper business growth today. I help my family run a small manufacturer's rep agency. I see firsthand the challenges that businesses are facing in Georgia today. I'm not going to need a white paper report or some committee to tell me what's wrong with our state's business climate. I live it. I talk to my customers every day about the challenges they're facing. We got to shrink Georgia's income taxes. We have to lower our corporate taxes so that we can encourage businesses to come here. And we got to start slashing the regulations which keep businesses from locating here. Because just like you and I, when we decide where to shop, businesses too decide where to spend their resources. They look at where they can get the best value for their dollar, where it's easy to do business. So we need to cut corporate taxes as well as individual taxes, and we need to get rid of the regulations. But then we also, step 2 is we need to have a viable workforce for them when they get here. For me, that means we have to reform our one-size-fits-all education system. We've got to provide more options in education. That's the only thing that can help Georgia's struggling graduation rate. Nearly 1/3 of Georgia's students don't graduate high school in 4 years. For me, the answer is not money. The answer is options. I'm an advocate for homeschools, charter schools, online virtual academies, and public schools which have the resources so that our greatest resource, our children, can go out and be successful in life. We have to expand our vocational options so that students are given multiple paths to go out in life without being told the only way to be successful is a 4-year degree. And then finally, we need to make sure that we have the strong quality of life that business owners are looking for when deciding where to locate their business. We have to have good local shopping and dining opportunities. We have to have good school options. And most importantly, we need to make them feel safe. We have a problem in our state and in this area with drugs. In crime, there's no question about that. That affects every aspect of our life, whether it's the kids whose parents are on drugs and they don't have anyone to work with them at home on their school project, or whether it's someone stealing your lawnmower to pawn it off to pay for their drug habit. I'm fortunate to have a lot of friends in law enforcement, and what they've told me is that we need more boots on the ground. At the state level, we need to be giving resources to our state law enforcement agencies. Now, this was something hard to believe for me when I first heard it, because I know the tendency my wife has to kind of be pulled over by them. But our state patrol has over 200 less employees now than they do in the 1970s. And we wonder why drugs are being ran up our interstate system. We wonder why our local law enforcement agencies have such a huge burden to patrol instead of protecting your homes. We have a GBI crime lab which has had funding cut tremendously. And we wonder why it's hard for our district attorneys to try cases, because they don't get the evidence back in a timely manner. I'll fight to find those resources in the state budget and put it back in our law enforcement agencies' hands so that they can do their job. You're going to have a lot of speakers here today. I know you're going to hear a lot of things. But before I wrap up, most importantly, I'd like you to know that first I'm a Christian, and then I'm a conservative, and then I'm a Republican. And each decision I make as your state representative will be made in that order. Since beginning our campaign, we've grown stronger every day. We've been out advocating to bring jobs and industry to this area, and we've had great response. But now's not the time to let up. I'd ask that you continue to keep Amy and I in your prayers. I would ask that you would spread the word about our pro-jobs campaign. Tell your friends. Visit our website, www.kelleyforhouse.com. And I would ask for your vote in the Republican primary July 9th through July 31st. I would ask you to continue this journey with us as we continue working for our future. Thank you, and I'll take questions for the remainder of my time. Yes, sir.
So you were talking about education and you were talking about school.
Yes, sir.
Now, I've got like in our community, there 60% of dropouts are because of the graduation test, which is a No Child Left Behind, by Senator Isaacson. So Mr. Obama has, done another one in 2014. They will do the new law. So what will happen to the dropouts? I have seen kids failing in school for the last 5 years, only in one subject. So what will happen to them? Will you be able to try to do something for them?
Well, all we're getting from President Obama is more federal bureaucracy.
No, what I'm saying is that in 2014, he is going to revoke this No Child Left Behind. So
Georgia's received a waiver from the No Child Left Behind policy. We've received a waiver.
So what will happen to the kids who are failing for the last 5 years?
The kids who failed in the past,
Yeah.
it's not going to have as much of an impact. The kids of our future is where it's going to have an impact. But now it's on us as a state to come up with a better plan, one that gives more options to children who are struggling in school, who have lost interest because their needs are not being met. It puts the choice, but we need to put choices back in their hands so that we can keep their attention, so that we can give them the skills they need so that they can graduate and be successful. And teaching to a test, that's a problem. Both my parents are public school teachers, and they're constantly have their hands tied behind their back teaching to a test. We have to get away from that mentality, because when you're teaching to a test, there's all kind of important life lessons that the teachers are having before going in the classroom just to teach that test. I think we need to get rid of the bureaucracy, whether it's coming from Washington or Atlanta. We need to give more choices back to our public education.
My question was, that a child has failed in one subject for the last 5 years. He is a B+ and A+ student in the school. You can see his averages. I made a file on that. What will happen to that child? He will never graduate from school. What will happen to his career?
Well, that's a problem with having these end-of-course tests. We haven't got the plan in place yet to replace this. That's what the legislature is going to be working on coming up. And so, to me, I think we need to have other methods of testing other than just this end-of-year test. That doesn't need to be the end-all, be-all in terms of you graduating high school. So, as now, we've got to get the plan in place. Anyone else? Michael?
You mentioned about small businesses and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we've tried to, we're starting our new business. I tell you, it's the scariest thing. And then trying to figure all the hoops getting through, county, state, federal. What's your plan? I mean, to be honest, I'm scared to death of hitting the tax year and hoping that I didn't screw something up.
And I want to commend y'all for what y'all are doing, going out on a limb in this tough economy to start a small business. I mean, it's having the kind of, what I think is we've got to work to cut those. We've got to have the conversations about what are some of the struggles that you're facing. We're getting bureaucracy dumped on us with this healthcare law, which will hopefully be overturned on Monday. That's something that's led uncertainty. But Georgia has to continue. Speaker Rawson, I think, has done a good job with his red tape initiative, where he's looked to cut the red tape. It's some of the regulations that Georgia business owners are facing. But I think it's having the conversation, asking you what are some of the struggles that you've seen starting, whether it's licensing, going here, and here to get licensing, requirements. Let's alleviate some of that. You know, let's streamline the process. The government has grown too big, and we need to shrink it, because it's you know, I'm a believer. You know, Ronald Reagan, when he said the scariest words in the English language are "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." So we need to kind of get that out of the way, so that it's either just cutting the size of government. I think is going to be a good first step. Well, again, I appreciate y'all's time today. And again, I would like to ask for your vote in support July 9th through July 31st for Trey Kelley, State House District 16. Thank you.